We are here to record season 3, episode 6.
Let's go.
For
And
your
bring it to
enjoyment.
your eyes and ears.
And
And
apologies in
fellas,
advance if I am looking in two different directions. I have postseason baseball on in the back. I am not going to hide that from you because why would I? I got this shirt on today. We better win or I'm not going to be happy. Anyways,
Phillies, yeah.
we are your hosts, Adam.
Dante. And for the first time with good reason, rocking the Drake May jersey, Luke. Let's go.
Heck yeah, that's fantastic. You guys can see the records in the bottom of the screen. I caught up on the boys a little bit this week. Got my first win by a week of the season so far.
Yeah.
Thank goodness I needed it. Dante's still in the lead.
Pull it away.
Luke closing in a little bit. I'm closing in on Luke. It's week 6. It's getting harder to pick each week. This is where it gets fun. So,
Yes, sir. If Evan McPherson made an overtime field goal, Dante and I would be tied right now. And to be fair, I put my faith in the Bengals saying I know they're gonna turn it around eventually. And that they did, but a loss counts as a loss on the record, so we'll talk about them.
Yep. Well, let's get into it, shall we? Starting
Absolutely.
off with, as always, the fantasy leaders from the previous week. If you guys are struggling in fantasy football, you may want to listen to this. Some of these guys could be league winners. So let's see who made the list this week. Starting off at number 10, the QB of the Colts, Joe Flacco, had 26.56 points in a loss to the Jaguars. On to number 9, this one hurt a little bit because he is our former receiver. DJ Moore for the Bears against his former team, the Panthers, had 27.5 in a win over Carolina, unfortunately. Number 8, Garrett Wilson of the Jets, finally having a good game. It took a while, but he's finally looking like the Garrett Wilson of old. Had 29.1 fantasy points in a loss to the Vikings. On to number 7, the first of 3 Cincinnati Bengals to make the list. Wide receiver T. Higgins had 29.3 against the Baltimore Ravens in that crazy shootout of a game. Crazy. Number 6 and 5 are both wide receivers for the same team, and they are also 2 of 3 players from the Atlanta Falcons to make the list this week. Wide receivers Darnell Mooney and Drake London clock in at 6 and 5. Mooney had 31.5. London had 33.4. On to number 4, Lamar Jackson, the QB of the Ravens, in a win over the Bengals, had 33.42 fantasy points, barely beating out Drake London. And then barely beating out Lamar for number 3 with 33.78 points, the QB of the Bengals, Joe Burrow. And on to our top 2, QB of the Falcons, Drake London had not Drake London. Sorry, Kirk Cousins. How
Yes,
dare
Falcons quarterback Drake London.
How dare I disrespect you, Kirk? Anyways, he had 34.36 points in a win over the Bucks, and number 1 this week, fully setting himself apart from everybody else. Wow, 41.3 points for the wide receiver of the Bengals. His second appearance on the top 10 this year. First time being number 1, Jamar Chase. Had quite the week. You could see the Bengals trio in the screen over here. Felt like I'd shout him out because I'm a Panthers fan. Why would I ever shout out the Atlanta Falcons for something? Anyways, let's move on. Yeah, craziness happening yesterday at the time we were recording this. It is currently Wednesday, about, I want to say 3 o'clock, a little bit after 3. I woke up to this news yesterday morning. Robert Saleh, former head coach of the Jets, now former, was the first coach fired this year. I was a little shocked to say the least, considering he currently, I get he's a defensive guy, but he's leading the second best defense, or was leading in the NFL, second best defense. To me, if they were going to fire anybody, should have been Nathaniel Hackett, the OC, but you know how close he and QB Aaron Rodgers are. Rodgers seems to have a say in pretty much everything that organization does, even though he admitted he wasn't the reason Saleh was fired. You know their weird relationship, the frustrations he's had. He certainly played a part in this decision. He's the reason Hackett is still around and Saleh's not. But what do you guys think? I want to know.
Well, if you don't mind me jumping in, I want to expand on that real quick. Aaron Rodgers, uh, everybody knows him as a guy who always takes responsibility, never says anything rude to anyone, right? Not exactly. So he goes on Pat McAfee this morning and says he had nothing to do with it. Of course, that's what he would say. But as Adam alluded to, because I've said it a couple times over the past, whatever it is, 48 hours, 24 hours, um, that's that's a bold-faced lie. And maybe he did have nothing to do with it internally, but we all know what we have seen. We've all watched their games. We have seen him week after week after week pouting on the sideline after three and out. Robert Saleh didn't throw three interceptions this week, but after Aaron Rodgers threw three interceptions, I'm sure just like every other week so far, he's gotten up in Robert Saleh's face about something. It's happened multiple times in 5 weeks. It's a bad look. And if Aaron Rodgers wasn't having those direct conversations with the owners, with Woody Johnson, who was apparently behind the firing, and I'm guessing that he didn't. If he's saying that he didn't have anything to do with the firing, then you could chalk it up to the fact that he does have something to do with the firing. I keep saying hiring because there's that public image, that perception that Aaron Rodgers is fed up with this guy. He can't stand him. He thinks he's an idiot because of how he treats him on the sideline. So if Aaron Rodgers didn't have any of those conversations, then that's what you have to go off of. And if you're owner Woody Johnson, and if you have, as he put it, and to be fair, one of the most talented teams the Jets have ever assembled, and you're 2-3, and you're a wreck, and your quarterback who you have committed everything to, and you have a short window with, seems to really be fed up with his head coach. That guy's out. He's out of the building. And so that's my thought. That's my thoughts on that specific angle. I can let when you guys jump in, or I have a couple more thoughts. I mean, I know my division, so I could talk about this a little more.
I'll give my reaction.
Yeah,
I was shocked, and Luke, I know you don't think Saul is the best coach, but I'm sure you were still shocked by this, at least a little bit.
I was very surprised, and
Yeah.
I was surprised my initial reaction. Um, but the more the day went on, and the more I had read about some of the certain circumstances, and the more people talked about the obvious, like the obvious that the offense has been the problem, and the defense has been one of the best defensive units in the league as expected. It just makes less and less sense.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I do think Robert Saleh is a quality coach, and I do think he'll find a place somewhere. This feels slightly similar to the Arthur Smith situation. Good coordinator, um, but might just not be the best head coach, and that's fine. Um, but yeah, I don't know. If I were the Jets, I wouldn't have given up on this guy so quick. Um, you know, the team's 2-3, which isn't great, but it's not the worst that you could be. With a 40-year-old quarterback, I mean, and guys are injured. I mean, I think this was a little, harsh in my personal opinion. However, I do understand it at the same time. But yeah, I'm interested to see who the Jets hire after the season. Bill Belichick? Who knows?
I'm not sure. I think that bridge was burned quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
And if I were to say one more thing about it, I guess a few things, to be honest, it is harsh. And now I'm actually kind of losing my train of thought because I was going to kind of comment on something you said, but more to it is just that. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Absolutely about um, Robert Saleh being a quality coach. He will have his pick of defensive coordinator openings in the summer, and whoever he lands with, will have a formidable defense for years. He is absolutely a quality coach. He just didn't have the tangibles and the tools to be a head coach, I guess, a leader in the locker room, and so we see that. But one more thing I want to touch on: there is a rumor with some backing, but I won't sit here and act like I know for sure that that morning Robert Saleh decided to take play calling, well, not to take it completely away, but to take partial responsibility away from Nathaniel Hackett. Because let's be real, that was the problem. I said it already. Robert Saleh didn't throw those three interceptions, um, and so they need to do that. If they are going to do this, they need to do that as well, and they're not going to. So that's just, as I like to say, the Jets are going to jet. In this case, the Jets jet, or jetted, I suppose it would be. And one more thing, you kind of likened it to Arthur Smith. I like that. I would even go one step further, and I liken it to Brian Flores. Fantastic defensive coach. Couldn't get the most out of the Miami Dolphins locker room and didn't really mesh well with Tua Tagovailoa. So he gets fired, and he has gotten different jobs around the league. And they have gone in the right direction. Mike McDaniel was, as much as I have to say about him a lot of the times, he was the right hire, at least at the time. He's gotten most of that team offensively more often than not. And so that's something the Jets need to do. But you look at Brian Flores now, certainly on his feet, leading the Vikings defensive unit, which has been, I won't even just say formidable because I already used that word, but we can look right here. Brian Flores actually got Robert Saleh fired because of that game. And so just to put a ribbon on this, I like the poetic justice. Robert Saleh, 20 and 36 over his time as the New York Jets head coach, and his first game and first loss was to the Sam Darnold-led Panthers. His last game and last loss was to the Sam Darnold-led Vikings. So
Wow.
that's just the icing on the cake. Sam Darnold still haunting the Jets to this day.
That's awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I will say I didn't even connect with this until I saw it later on yesterday, but the Jets, I think like Dante said, are only 2-3. If they beat the Bills next week, they're in first place.
That's a big if.
That's a big if,
but
and I think it says a lot more about our division than it says about anybody else. It says about the Jets, or it's just. I was texting somebody. We quickly went from looking like one of the perennial best divisions in the league, to now being a complete mess.
Amen. Until, the playoffs, all that matters is how you place in your division. You could be, sorry to take a shot at the NFC South, Adam, but teams that won that division at 8 and 9,
oh, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But I definitely see where Luke's coming from here. Definitely says more about the division than any of the teams. But yeah, Robert Saleh, he's out.
Gone.
Let's get into week 6. Starting with Thursday Night Football, the Niners and Seahawks, a good old NFC West rivalry to start out the week. Who do we got winning this one, boys? I would start off going crazy about my Niners, second favorite team, but I just don't know. After last week, they didn't look that good, and they're going to be missing their kicker for about a month.
Jeez.
Well, the good news for you in this circumstance is that the Seahawks didn't look good last week either. They lost to Daniel Jones, which when we touch on them a little bit later, I actually have something to say about that he hasn't been that bad, actually. A bit of a spoiler, but they still lost to the New York Giants. So I think that these two teams, you can judge them pretty fairly. And with that being said, I don't know either right now. Off the top of my head, I'm leaning towards the team, but I kind of want to see what you guys say.
I'm going Niners for sure. Seahawks just lost to the Giants. And San Francisco, even when they are a banged up squad, they're still one of the best in football. Because they have so much depth offensively and defensively for that matter. It's just so hard to pick against this Niner team, even though they are 2-3, which is strange. I'm still going with them. I don't like the 49ers. I made it clear on this podcast. Sorry, Adam. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. I hate them. Yeah, I feel like I have to pick San Francisco. Though in a divisional game like this, I could see Seattle winning, but San Francisco.
Luke, if you're still not ready, I'll go.
I think I know as well, but go ahead.
Dante pretty much convinced me. I was leaning Niners anyway, but I think they'll do just enough to get the job done, get back to 500, and then regroup from there. I'm sure the Niners, I haven't looked at their schedule, but given they play first place teams, I can't imagine it's easy. That being said, the Seahawks, I'm not really sure what to think about them right now. Whereas the Niners, I still kind of have a clear idea, even if they are looking a little banged up. So I'll go Niners.
I'm going to finish off the sweep. I'm going to pick the Niners. I was uncertain about this, frankly, because the Seahawks have exceeded my expectations thus far, and the 49ers have done the opposite. But the Seahawks got brought back down to earth last week and the Niners lost a game they also shouldn't have lost last week. But I think, as I said, I think that also makes this even more fair evaluation of these two teams. I'm not going to look at it one way or the other because one team has been so unprecedentedly better when the Seahawks just lost to the Giants. So not one of these teams is on in some incredible start to the season. So, and especially as I've said many times before, a lot of the logic of records and trends and scoring and statistics you can throw out of the window in divisional games. And I think that, while I could be wrong, I really do think that the Seahawks can pull away this win. I'm going to pick the 49ers.
Cool. All right. Moving on to our second London game of the 2024 season. And London's golden child, I was looking for the right word, the Jacksonville Jaguars are back in town to take on the Chicago Bears. Well, I think I'll start with this one just because I know who I'm going with already. Listen, I know the Jaguars are great in London. I know they're usually prone to get wins there, but I don't know. I'm not bought into it this year. The Bears have looked like a very, very good team lately, and that is judging off their win against Carolina. They very convincingly beat us in a game I thought would be close. And I'm just not bought into the Jaguars this year, even though they came off their first win of the season last week. I think the Bears are on a roll right now, and I think they're going to continue it and go to 4-2. Give me Chicago.
Dante?
I'll go.
Or I can go. It doesn't matter to me.
I think we have the same answer, and I think we
Might
agree with
not.
maybe no. Well, I'm taking the Bears. If I'm not mistaken, are the Jags are they winless to this point in the season?
They're 1-4 now.
They just
Adam was
won
right. They
on
beat the Colts.
they just beat the
Oh,
first
well,
part of the year.
they always beat the Colts in Indy. I mean, in Jacksonville, always. Um, but I couldn't agree more with what Adam was saying. Talk about head coaches. These are two of the most mid head coaches in the NFL with Eberflus and Peterson. So I don't see anybody really out scheming the other. Um, but yeah, I'm really not impressed with the Jags and Caleb Williams. He's starting to pick it up. He's starting to look better. Starting to look as a number one pick should. So yeah, I'll go with the Bears here.
I thought about it. I'm going to go with the safe pick in the Bears. Um, Another one where I wouldn't be necessarily surprised. Jacksonville in their second home of London. Um, Two number one picks who finally one of them is starting to look like it. I was wrong last week. I thought it would take another couple weeks, but Caleb Williams arrived, as you could say. I think that's fair. He might leave again, but he arrived for now because he had a good game. And Jacksonville finally pulled a victory out of God knows where they found it. But I do think that Jacksonville can still win one of these next few games because they've been averaging a bunch of points past couple weeks. It's just been about finishing the job. And it wasn't easy for them against the Colts and Joe Flacco either, but I don't think it's going to be easy as well against the Bears, whose offense finally started to gel. And that's because I think they involved DJ Moore more than they had in the past couple weeks. And DeAndre Swift got going. And I see this being a close but boring game, as you said, Dante. Two coaches who have a higher chance of losing their teams the game than they do winning their teams the game. So we'll see. I probably won't be watching this.
All right, two clean sweeps to start us off. Moving us into the next game, another division rivalry here.
With the context of, isn't it Jake Haener starting for the Saints?
Yes, I think. Maybe Spencer Rattler. I don't know. Derek Carr is out for a couple weeks. Hate to see it. Hate to see guys get hurt in general. I'm not going to waste too much time on this one. Tampa nearly beat the Falcons on Thursday night last week. Rough ending for them, but this Saints team, look, I was right about what I said, all right? I was just a few weeks early. I'll say it again. This Saints team is not that good. Who was right in the end? But yeah, give me the Bucks. This should be an easy win for Tampa.
I agree. Yeah, Tampa.
I have to agree as well.
Easy
Three.
enough.
Oh, look at that.
Guys, we got to stop agreeing. Makes it more fun. But anyways,
I have a feeling we will disagree here, but it
yeah,
strongly depends because I know who I want.
I think I know who I want too.
I do
And
too.
this game is going to be fantastic, I think, which
Hopefully.
going into the season, I've said this a lot about the Commanders, and I feel unfair, but I mean, you know what people thought about them going into the season. But going into the season, if you would have told me Commanders and Ravens might be game of the week in week 6, I would have thought, man. But here we are. Um, Luke, you seem confident. I'll let you start off.
Yeah, I said what I said. Now I'm realizing, looking around the room, I might actually be wrong. I think there probably at least one person agrees with me, and that's because I'm going Baltimore. Um, the Commanders' defense has been the polar opposite of their offense. They've been because of their defense. Uh, Frankly, their offense is one of the better in the league right now, and I think that's because they've been catching a lot of people off guard. But as with what happened with the Vikings this prior week, who still won the game, I think, and I'm not here to diss or discredit the Commanders and what they've been able to achieve. I think a lot of the early success has been because of a lack of ability to game plan against their offense, and because of all the talent on the field, they've been able to pull off some heavy hitting wins. I think now there's a lot of tape on Jade Daniels and a team like the Ravens, especially with their defense, and especially with the way that Derrick Henry has been playing, with how Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers have been connecting, and how Mark Andrews may as well stay in bed on Sunday. I think that the Ravens are going to win.
Adam?
Luke, I agree with you.
All right.
I'm also going Baltimore. I think the Commanders are going to make this an interesting game, but Jaden Daniels, he has been very good. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like they are due to have a little bit of a step back game. And I feel like the Ravens are going to show they've been good for quite some time, and the Commanders are kind of just getting there. But no pressure if the Commanders lose. They're still 4-2 with a loss. I mean, I just think Baltimore is going to be slightly better in this one. So that's why.
Mm. I agree with both of you. Baltimore. This is
Wow.
Yeah,
fun.
I immediately thought that I was probably wrong after I said we would probably disagree, but I wasn't sure what you guys felt about the Commanders right now.
I love the Commanders. I love watching Jane Daniels, and I'm really rooting for him. But Luke, hit the nail on the head. They're not winning because of their defense. Their offense has just been unreal. And I think you saying they're catching their opponents off guard is very valid. But I think once they run into a stifling defense, like I think the Ravens is, um, they're gonna have some issues because like if they can't move the ball offensively, it's practically over for them because their defense is like really, really not good. And not 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 even to mention how good the Ravens offense is. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think I obviously rooting my ass off for Washington, excuse my French, but absolutely Baltimore here.
Yeah, it's just the vibe I'm getting for sure. But anyways, let's move on to yet another 1 o'clock game. And I think this will be another interesting one. Packers and Cardinals, these games always deliver. These two teams always have good games against one another. So man, I am torn in this one because the Cardinals, they're coming off a nice gritty win. So are the Packers, given the Packers win was in a game they should have won. I don't know. Do you guys know?
I think I do.
Go ahead, Dante.
I trust Jordan Love and the Packers more for sure. Um, yeah, I'm going with Green Bay here. Um, yeah, I really don't have much of an explanation. Um, yeah, Arizona just doesn't wow me at this point in the season, like they did earlier on whenever they were playing close games against the Bills. But yeah, Green Bay here, I think.
That's certainly reasonable. Unfortunately, I'm going to agree with you, and I say unfortunately because um, and now I've probably said it enough that it's not a little known fact, but for the final time, if you still don't know, I like the Cardinals more than I like most teams. Um, and they're coming off a win against the 49ers, reigning NFC Championship uh, champions. Anyways, so impressive. But the 2-3 49ers and Jordan Love now isn't just back. He has a buffer of 1 game under his belt, in which 2 games. I don't know. Either way, I'm going the Packers. Matt LaFleur, I expect him to be able to outcoach most of the coaches in the league. And I really like Kyler Murray, and I think that he will find Marvin Harrison in the end zone this week. But it's a little bit too much up in the air. Whereas a team like the Packers, you pretty much know what to expect from them.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you guys again. I think the Packers will win. We need to make this interesting, guys.
Someone's got to disagree
Debate
just
on these
for the sake of disagreeing.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Luke?
I just said someone needs to disagree for the sake of disagreeing. All right, who's doing it? Who's putting their faith in Mason Rudolph?
I'm not. Give me the Colts. No shit.
I can't do it either.
I love Mason Rudolph. Love Mason Rudolph, but
Love me some Mason Rudolph, but
if I will say
Joe Flacco.
If Richardson were starting in this game, I would have considered picking the Titans, but it's Joe Flacco as far as I know. So
does my take stand from last week?
yeah, I think it does so far.
Is Joe Flacco the best quarterback on the Colts roster? I think so. Is he the second best quarterback in the division? I think so.
Behind Stroud?
I will say that he certainly elevates them. He certainly elevates them right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you taking the Colts, Luke?
TBS, what are we doing? Just kicked me out of the baseball game I was watching. Okay, guys. Cool.
Yeah, you were watching it totally.
I wasn't watching that or anything. We're all going.
All right, so Adam picks Titans.
No. No.
You sure?
Adam loves Will Levis.
I'm writing Colts for all of us.
All right. No fun.
That's 5 in a row.
Yeah.
That's actually 6 in a row.
6 in a row.
Yeah,
sorry, Luke, but I think it's going to be 7.
Hey, it's still up to him, but I'm going Houston.
Luke, I'll let you get into your little analysis here because,
okay,
out
of the gate, I am picking Houston. Which is why I will say, if you're listening, not watching, is not what I was going to say, but if you're listening, not watching, I'm wearing my Drake May jersey. If you do not know, Mayo officially named Drake May as the starter going into this week. It took 5 weeks, and it took a disgusting, atrocious, offensive performance against the Dolphins. I think I have now said this twice this year. I think I probably said it against the Jets too. One of the worst football games I have ever seen played. Although this time, it was on both sides. I mean, I watched that and I wanted to wash my eyes out afterwards. And I've always had 20/20 vision. I think after watching that game, I might need glasses. That was how bad it was. So the Jets, they don't have a Drake, or not the Jets. The Dolphins don't have a Drake May to pull off their bench. We do. I'm going to wait and see. I'm not going to sit here and prophesize that he's going to throw 4 touchdowns and 250 yards and 18 for 25. I watch that be his exact stat line now, but I don't think that's quite going to happen. In fact, I probably personally would have waited until next week against Jacksonville to take May off the bench. But he's here, and I'm not going to complain about it. The 3rd overall pick of the NFL draft is starting, and it's very exciting. And not only that, not the jersey I'm wearing, but he gets to start. He gets to make his NFL debut in the best throwbacks in football, in the red Pat Patriots jerseys. Yes, and I have to stand my ground on that still because some people just forget. Those are unrivaled to me. There is absolutely no second to none. Those are the best jerseys in football, some of the best jerseys in sports. And I saw people saying this week the new Denver Broncos throwbacks, which are gorgeous, are the best throwbacks in football. And I would put them up there. And I have hot takes about throwback jerseys. I don't love the Eagles Kelly Green. I don't love Okay, that's just off the top of my head because I talk about it a lot. But I don't love certain throwbacks as much as other people do. Those Denver Broncos throwbacks were sweet. But back to the point, Drake May gets to debut in the best jerseys in football, in one of the best stadiums in football, for one of the best franchises in football, which is putting one of the worst products on the field that I've ever seen with my own two eyes. Um, I'm tired of saying like, oh, I really would have let Drake May take all those hits, or Jacoby Brissett, excuse me. I would have protected my baby Drake May because I guess he is like whatever he is, 6'2", 230. I guess he's a grown man; he can handle himself. But behind this O line, uh, you would pretty much have to be Shaq not to go down at least a few times. So those are my thoughts on the team, which will reflect to the game because the Texans are, and certainly should be, the more well-rounded, competent organization right now, and that should show on the field. Although I'm stoked to see Drake May perform, and I'm going to keep my expectations at a minimum because of the matchup and the crap we are putting on the field. But certainly, I don't think it's a bad idea to throw him out into a storm of a game like this, so the next week he can attack Jacksonville with some experience, and we can really see what he has next week. So I'm picking the Texans, and you guys are free to talk over me now.
Well, I already mentioned that I was picking the Texans earlier, but in response to Luke saying the Pats have the best throwbacks in sports, uh, or in football rather, I think
So
I think Seattle has better ones. I think Seattle's a
I
real
they're nice. You mean the ones with like the silver helmet and the
yeah, yeah.
those
Those are
are not. I don't adore the logo. I think that their new logo is as good as almost any logo, and I think that like I don't they're not like S tier to me.
I'll
They're
I'll I'll say in terms of New England jerseys or uniforms, I think the helmet really makes it because
yeah,
if
the white
if
helmet.
they if they just had the red jerseys with the regular Patriot logo you see on the screen,
Well,
I think it would still be cool, but not as cool.
you mean like adapted to where it would look normal? Like we all associate those red jerseys with that logo, but say that logo never existed. You would say if we had the logo that we see on the screen, but the red jerseys, it would just kind of be like an alternate that's worth mentioning.
Yeah. I
That's
think
fair.
I think if you guys rock like you know what jerseys I'm
The
talking about.
Drew Bledsoe, yeah, with
Those
the
are those
stripes
are some of my favorite,
and
like
the giant shoulder logos, yeah,
those are so sick. If you guys those in my opinion are the best jerseys in your history. Specifically
yeah.
the blue ones, I think.
Keep talking, keep talking.
Yeah, as Luke's maybe going to get one. We shall see. But yeah, man, if I would never wear a Patriot jersey, and I've said this before, unless it was a throwback Ty Law, like
Or
the
maybe Drew Bledsoe.
jeez,
Yeah,
it's so
these old mid to late '90s,
it's so
huge logo on the shoulder, blue with the stripes, they have the white too, and this like cursive-ish logo. Oh man, it's just so
the
beautiful.
whole cursive Patriots logo is so sick too.
Oh, it's so good.
But I'd
So,
rock.
all right, we're spending quite a bit of time on this. I am picking the Texans. Feel free to keep talking about that. I don't want to cut you off, but
No, I'm
you
done.
know,
Adam, I so you're picking the Texans too.
next summer we can make a throwback jersey episode. I think that'd be fun.
Yo, we
Yes,
should do tier lists like that. That'd be sick.
you really should. Tier list summer. I like that idea.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go Houston too, unfortunately. Sorry, Luke. But
All
I
right,
will say this. I think Drake May is gonna make it interesting. I don't think this is gonna be a cakewalk for the Texans by any means.
I don't either.
I think Drake May can make it interesting. The question is, can Jalen Polk get 2 feet down the end zone? Can Pop Douglas continue to extend plays the way he's been when he gets his targets? Will we ever see Javon Baker? Does he exist? He's sort of our Roman Wilson.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, except he's healthy, so that's a real issue of why he's not on the field. And well, Kendrick Bourne, who came back last week, by the way, if you didn't know, which I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't, because before the game he said, "Man, I can't wait to catch my first ball today. The crowd's gonna go crazy. You guys better go crazy for me when I get my first target today." Yeah, he had 0 targets. So we'll see if he is a factor at all
Who was
this
that? Who
weekend.
did you say that was?
Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick.
So we'll see if he's a factor at all. And we'll see how much it has to do with Alex Van Pelt and how much it has to do with Jacoby Brissett. So we'll see.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, talk about cakewalk. Let's get into this next one.
I was just gonna say that. You took the words right out of my mouth, man. For the second straight week, I told Luke I was gonna do this earlier. For the second straight week, I have the team playing the Browns as my lock of the week.
As you should.
It's just abysmal what's going on with the
Can
Browns.
I make a take right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
The Browns win this game with Jameis Winston.
Um,
I think that's how much of a mess the Eagles can be.
I think they make it better. I don't know
yeah,
if
it would
Yeah,
definitely
I don't know
be.
about win.
Yeah.
I mean, but how bad Deshaun has been, I think, a lot. Drew Aller might win them that game instead of Deshaun.
Hey, let's
So
go.
yeah,
He is from Ohio. He is a Browns fan, which like that hurts me, but
uh,
he can stay quiet about that. So it's obviously the play he's watching on Sundays isn't affecting his play on Saturdays, but
yeah, yeah.
it's just going to keep getting worse because I'm sure we all agree Eagles here.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And it makes me overjoyed to see the Browns stuck like this. The Steelers, I mean, I don't care how the season finishes out. If the Browns keep playing like this, it'll be like a Super Bowl win. Um, this is I'm in nirvana right now, truly. Yeah, I'm definitely picking Jalen Hurts over shout out Pat McAfee, Osama bin Watson.
I
Uh,
saw that. Yeah.
send him back to Pyongyang.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, where did that tweet that he showed say that he wanted to send him to Pyongyang?
That was so
That's
fun.
that's something. Yeah.
Anyway, Adam, you going Philly, I assume?
yeah, lock of the week.
All right, cool.
Well, I will just touch on one thing that I saw online. If you guys are curious, I was telling Adam about this last night. I'll make this quick. The one scenario, basically, of any hope that the Cleveland Browns have of moving on from Deshaun Watson next offseason is they would practically they would have to pick a bad team who would be desperate enough for this, and B, a team with a lot of money. Adam, both you and I, our teams qualify for that.
Uh,
They would say, all right, Browns would take an $170 million cap hit to cut Deshaun Watson. That would cripple the franchise for 30 years, as if they haven't already done worse. Um, they would say, okay,
they're
just
not
for
doing
example,
40 years.
they would say, just for example, Carolina Panthers. Hey, David Tepper, do you mind if we traded you Deshaun Watson? You can have our first round pick too, and we're awful because we have Deshaun Watson, so it'll be the third overall pick. If you guys take that and cut him, it would save us $170 million. It would cost you about $80 million. But all we need in return is like a conditional seventh. It really doesn't matter. Just cut him instead of us, and you could take the third overall pick in the draft. And so they would just have to find a rich trash franchise. No disrespect, because the Patriots are going to qualify for that too. Desperate enough for that first round pick, and I'm sure there's somebody out there because that pick is going to be awesome.
I was gonna say I think that would benefit us because we're likely gonna get the first overall pick this year. I have a feeling. So having picks 1 and 3,
Or
where
4 or 5 or whatever.
or yeah,
Top
we
10.
can get 2 top 10 picks, maybe use one of them. Say we get like number 6 from Cleveland. We use number 1 to trade back and get more future assets, but we still have the 6th overall pick to work with. I mean, that would be fantastic. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah. So that was I just saw it over the weekend. So that was just, if anybody listening is curious, do the Browns ever have any hope of getting off of this? That would be how.
Yeah, it's really insane. Like it's almost like it honestly looks like Deshaun Watson hadn't played football in 3 years prior to last season. Um, oh wait, that is the case. It's almost like I knew it the whole time. Yeah, the Browns are god awful, and I honestly feel bad for guys like uh Owusu Koromoa, JOK. I feel bad for guys like Martin Emerson, guys on that defense who are really good. I don't feel bad for Myles Garrett because I hate his guts. I feel bad for Nick Chubb. I feel bad for Coop. I feel bad for a lot of guys on those team on that team, because they do have some good players. But I don't feel bad for Cleveland fans because the amount of garbage they talk on Steeler fans for being mid, which we have been these past 2 weeks. But the Browns have been worse, and We all know who the little brother is in the AFC North. One playoff win in 20 years. Yeah, the Browns are god awful, and I cannot be more happy. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, I was gonna say one more thing. You don't have to go back. You don't have to go back to that. But
I could even say one more thing too, actually.
to your boy Amari Cooper, I have heard trade rumors for, so he may get out of there.
I'd love him as a Steeler, but they won't do it.
I was gonna say that would be great. Luke, you have one more thing?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it just came to me that do you guys remember when he was only suspended for like 12 games and everyone was like, that's awful, it should be like a whole season or whatever it was?
Yeah.
If you could give Browns fans a time machine, they'd probably go up to Roger Goodell and threaten him and say, please suspend him for like 4 years.
Exempt him from the league.
Yeah, ban him and get him off our books. So, anyways,
I wouldn't want that because like he's off.
because he cripples them. Yeah, I know. But I'm saying Browns fans.
Hmm.
All right, now that we have just dumped on them for like
Yeah.
a solid 7 minutes,
Moving on to the 4 p.m. slate. You got the Chargers and the Broncos.
maybe we disagree here.
I think I know who I'm going with, but I'm actually curious to see. Yeah.
We haven't disagreed yet. We're 9 games in.
I think it happens here.
Okay.
Are we really? Oh yeah, this is game number 9. Okay. Who's starting off?
I'll start off.
I know who I'm picking, anyways. But go ahead.
Me too.
This is my upset of the week. I'm going Denver. They played real well against the Raiders last week, won by 16 points. Bo Nix is looking all right. He's not looking too bad. Not
Is your upset right?
is my upset.
Okay.
If this counts as an upset, I guess.
I will give it to you.
Yeah, I think it is. But yeah, Denver, they looked solid last week against in an in-division game. Plus at home, Denver is one of the hardest places to play in the league. So yeah, I'm gonna go with them. I expect Bo Nix to play well. I don't know
I'll
why,
go.
but
That's all right, Luke.
Mhm.
This is not my upset of the week, but I do agree with Dante. I think Denver's going to get the win here. I think them being at home really benefits them. Mile High, very tough place to play with the conditions there, the fans, and also because I don't know what to think about the Chargers lately. Started 2-0, but 2 rough losses after that, and coming off the bye, maybe they play a little better, but the Broncos, they haven't been that bad lately. Like Dante said, close win over the Jets and then absolutely destroyed the Raiders last week. Maybe they take it out on another division rival. Dare I say the Broncos are going to be 4-2 after this week? Let's see.
All right, well, we've done it. I disagree. I'm
Okay.
going LA.
There we have it.
Off a bye. I think they are as healthy as they have been this season, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're ready and rested to beat the brakes off the Broncos. Mile high, whatever. Last week they looked good, whatever. That was just the added aura from those beautiful throwbacks. And I like Harbaugh right now more than I like Sean Payton. And I don't think anybody likes Sean Payton.
I
But
don't.
you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And another one of those, not a lot of logic, but honestly, I wouldn't have had a lot of logic in picking the Broncos either because out of 32 teams, these are probably in the bottom half of the league in terms of teams I really pay attention to. That's being a little generous. So we'll see. I think that off of a bye week, the Chargers can look as good as they looked in the first 2 weeks. I'll put it that way.
Would you say the Chargers are going to, if shit stomp the Broncos?
No, and I will confess that beat the brakes off of them was just kind of the first thing my brain came up with in terms of a phrase.
Totally.
uh, maybe they will beat the brakes off them. I'm not sure though. We'll see.
Anyway.
Dante, before you start, I want to deliver 2 news updates I saw, both affecting QBs from both teams. First, for the visiting Steelers, it was reported via Ian Rappaport. For the first time this season, Steelers QB Russell Wilson, calf, was a full participant. So that's something to keep in mind. And also, it was reported by Ari Merov, however you say his name. Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce announced Aiden O'Connell will start at QB on Sunday versus the Steelers. Gardner Minshew is officially benched.
Oh,
Oof.
that scares me. Hey, we
It
got a full week.
really.
We got a full week to prepare for Aiden O'Connell. Um, but man, we are not good against bad quarterbacks. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't,
so it does scare you.
what's that?
I said it does scare you
It
then.
does.
I thought you were being sarcastic.
No, that honestly it does. I mean,
Hmm.
because that's just a Steeler thing to do. But I'll get
Well,
into this game.
I was going to say I know who I'm picking as well, but go ahead.
Me too.
Okay. Pittsburgh coming off a really heartbreaking loss against the Cowboys. Offense really didn't play too well. I'm really getting tired of Najee Harris, just bottom line. He's one of the slowest backs in the league, and he consistently complains and is consistently very, what's the word? Um, Pretentious in his interviews, rarely takes the blame. And yeah, and it's really disappointing because, coming in whenever before Najee was drafted by the Steelers, I really wanted him on our team. And he has been, I'd say, good for the majority of his career, but this season he has not. Hopefully he can turn it around. I am rooting for him. Um, but this has been pretty much the twilight zone for Pittsburgh Steeler media. Um, we're 3-2. Everybody needs to relax. Everybody's calling for Justin Fields' head whenever he's the one that's really keeping us in ball games offensively. He's only turned the ball over twice as a Steeler, and he has what, 8 total touchdowns. He's been very solid through 2 touchdowns last week, had 3 total the week before. Um, I honestly think it's the defense that has been, well, defense played pretty well against Dallas, but offense just couldn't back him up. But lost 20-17 against the Cowboys. Had a chance to win it on 4th and goal. And Landon Roberts made an insane play at the goal line.
Insane play.
Insane
Yeah.
play, leaping over the center, knocks the ball out with his helmet. If we jump on that ball, that's game. Uh, but that led to 4th and goal, and Jalen Tolbert catches a touchdown from Dak Prescott on a brilliantly designed play. Had our safeties, you know, like mixed up or however you want to say it. But yeah, Pittsburgh loses to, I'd say, a good team in Dallas. But I don't think the sky is falling. I think the Steelers can still, they could rebound off this. Every team has little rough patches, and but this is the game to bounce back, I think. To get to 4-2, you're facing Aiden O'Connell and Devontae Adams is out. Um, the Steelers should win this game, and they need to. We cannot lose to the Raiders. There's a lot of pressure on just the entire 53 to win this game, and I think Tomlin will have the boys ready. This is my 6th time in a row picking the Steelers, and yeah, here we go, Steelers. Hopefully improve to 4-2. Please. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, Something came to mind, a statement about Mike Tomlin. I think that Mike Tomlin, as much as I think we all have some gripes with him, is probably who Antonio Pierce thinks he is.
Or wants to be.
And yeah, and I don't hate Antonio Pierce. It's just kind of, I don't think it's completely unfair to say that. I am going to pick the home team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's in Las Vegas. I I
Hmm.
would I would guess that Terrell Battaglia is going to be flying.
Yeah,
Um,
it's another good point.
1000%.
Yeah.
And while I honestly, Aiden O'Connell was no pushover to me. I thought they probably could have started him to start the year. As much as I like Gardner Minshew, as much as it's like, well, you surely could do worse than Gardner Minshew. But I kind of like Aiden O'Connell too. But no Devontae Adams. Their rushing attack has been dreadful. Um, and I agree. This is a bounce back game. You probably have a wider, more of a margin of error against the Raiders. Sometimes it takes a lot to lose to them. I should know. Jacoby Myers turning around and throwing an interception basically to Chandler Jones, who then uh, introduced Mac Jones to the turf in their stadium and ran it back for the win. 3 years ago now. I'll never forget that. Um, but it's largely the Raiders have a culture, and so from one year to the next, they're just about as beatable as they've always been. And I think I like how I came up with it. I'm picking the home team. I'm expecting terrible towels. I'm picking the Steelers.
Dante, you picked the Steelers, right?
I did, sir. Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna make it a clean sweep. Looking at the last 2 years, the Steelers have faced the Raiders in both the 23 and 22 season. They are 2-0. While those games may have been a little closer than expected, I do think the Steelers win this Sunday, get a much needed victory. And I'm going to say that regardless of which quarterback is starting. If it's Justin Fields, I think the Steelers win. If it's Russell Wilson, I also think the Steelers win because both guys are better than Aiden O'Connell. So there you go.
Before we move on, I just want to jump in on, I touched on it briefly, but I don't know what Justin Fields has done to warrant him being taken out.
Yeah, I agree. I don't mean to cut you off. I think it's just more the unknown.
Yeah, and it's also how much is Russell Wilson gonna do? How much more is Russell Wilson gonna add to this offense if he's in? I honestly think he makes us worse. And trust me, dude, I love Russ, and if he was our starter right now, I would defend him. But he's less mobile. He hasn't played in a year and a half, well, not a year and a half, in off season and have in 6 games into a season. He hasn't played in a very long time. Justin Fields is probably way more comfortable with this offense. I don't know how you turn to Russell Wilson at this point in the year. I understand if we're 1 and or what would we be 1 and 4. I understand that, but Justin Fields, he's been one of the only bright spots on this offense with his legs and his arm. I don't know how you turn to Russ. If we do, I will be shocked and honestly pretty upset. Um, but hey, maybe I'm a Justin Fields glazer. Who knows? But this is the best quarterback play we've had since like 2018, 19 Ben Roethlisberger, and that wasn't even that good. But yeah, I'll go. Yeah, you got to start Fields anyway.
Yeah, that's awful.
All right. Um, yeah, so after a rough week, the Panthers are back home and they host the Atlanta Falcons. It's Dirty Birds week. Um, First time all year, we will be wearing the black uniforms, and I do want to also reveal something. It was posted on the Carolina Panthers Instagram this morning. They posted this picture right here, meaning it sounds like the black helmets are coming out for this week's game. Now, I had my pick pretty set in stone, but that post made me think. Carolina has worn these helmets twice since they've became a thing. Both times we're at home, obviously. Both times we're against the Atlanta Falcons. Both times the Carolina Panthers won. Upset of the week. I think we make it 3 in a row. Why not us? That's all I'm going to say. But if you pick Atlanta, I understand. Just understand we're 2-0 in these helmets. You may be wrong.
I could tell you why not Adam, but I'll just pick Atlanta.
Fair enough.
Adam, that's wonderful. Those helmets are very nice. I went out on a limb for Carolina last week, and then I watched both that Thursday night game where Kirk Cousins threw for over 500 yards, and I was peeking at your computer where Andy Dalton did not throw for 500 yards. So, that's kind of my why. I apologize.
It's fine.
I hope you're right.
Yeah,
It's
honestly, sure, why not? But
anyway.
All right. 3 more games to predict. Final 4 p.m. game. This one is going to be a good game. Detroit and Dallas. I don't know. I don't know who to go with. I mean, I think I know, but I also don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Yeah, if you know, go ahead.
Detroit by 30. Not 30. Double digits. Cowboys aren't good. I'm so upset we lost to them. Beatable team. Can't run the ball. Jalen Tolbert. Who? beat us, but who? Um, I'm sorry, I'm being way overboard right now. But,
Um,
Detroit is by by a mile the better team, especially with DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons still out or still slightly not at 100%. I like Detroit a lot, and I know it's in Detroit. I mean, it's in Dallas. And Dallas is just insane at home. But if a team's going to beat them on the road, it's going to be Detroit. So I'm picking them.
yeah,
Dante, not to put you on the spot, is this your lock of the week?
It's not. No, I have another one coming up.
Okay.
it's mine, and I agree with you.
Are you
Yeah.
picking Detroit? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Detroit. It's mine. It's my lock of the week. And I know we're just creating a storm for Adam to pick the Lions if he was uncertain. But their past five matchups, the Lions have won four of them. Um, Jared Goff coming off of a perfect game. Dak Prescott coming off of a game where he became the first player in NFL history to throw an interception in two separate days in the same game. Because that game went past midnight. And he threw an interception before and after midnight. So that's a real stat. Um, of course, it's dumb and it's not going to have any impact on this game, but I don't know about by 30, but when he changes to double digits, I can agree with that. Give me the Lions.
You
I
boys
wonder what Adam's going to
convinced
say.
me. I was leaning toward Detroit, but you boys convinced me. I'll
There
take
it
the
is.
Lions too.
Epic.
Again, not my locker upset. I already locked those in, but
Cool.
on to Sunday night football.
What a game.
Let's
Believe it or not,
establish.
the Giants have the better record in this game.
I was going to say, let's establish the Giants would be the upset, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. Okay. With that being said, I know who I'm going. I think you guys probably do.
I
Yeah.
do. I know who I'm picking.
This will be a back on track game for the Bengals. The Giants will not survive what they handed the Ravens last week. Although, okay, you guys can go, and then I have a couple stats to talk about for like 1 minute.
Oh, I'm picking Cincy for sure.
Yeah.
I don't even have to reiterate.
Yeah, me as well.
So the interesting thing about this game, and I was going to talk about both these quarterbacks actually. I didn't even know they played each other. That makes it even better. Um, so I was going to do a thing where like I was like, well, guess which quarterback this is, and you would probably guess somebody with a winning record. But I'll start with Daniel Jones. Week 1, 201 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 44 passer rating. What I did not realize, Daniel Jones weeks 2 to 5, three of these games were with Malik Neighbors. 974 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, which was on a Hail Mary, and a 100 passer rating. So he has been good. He's not been that bad. And Joe Burrow at 1-4, these are all correct stats, is top 4 in passing yards, the leader in the NFL in passer rating, the leader in the NFL in touchdown passes, third least in interceptions in the NFL, second in completion percentage, second in QBR. So Joe Burrow is not the problem. And Daniel Jones himself has not necessarily been the problem either. I think it's fair to say that they leave points on the board too many, they leave points on the field too often. But back to my point, the Giants are not going to survive the onslaught that the Bengals gave a much better defense than the Ravens last week. So this is easy to me.
Cool. So everybody got the Bengals?
Yes.
Our last game of the week here, Monday Night Football, Bills and Jets. It'll be the first game for Jeff Ulbrich, if that's how you say it, as the interim coach of the Jets. And the Bills started out 3-0, but they're coming off 2 consecutive losses. Not looking as good. Who do we got in this one, guys?
This is my lock of the week. I'm going Buffalo. Talk about a bounce back game. Jets just fired their head coach. Um, I definitely just trust the Bills way more. Maybe this is a little harsh to be my lock of the week, but I'm still gonna roll with it. The Bills are very good against their in divisional play. Forget about the Bills Jets game at MetLife last year because that was just a fever dream. But yeah, Josh Allen, he's gonna do some good things this game, and I think it's gonna be the Aaron Rodgers we've seen pretty much all year. Yeah, I just don't like the Jets at all in this game. So give me Buffalo.
Um, I'll go next. Before I make my pick, I want to give a little stat. Going back to that week one win last year, this is the second time, I believe, since then that Sunday night football and Monday night football were in the same stadium. Sunday night was hosted by the Giants and Monday night by the Jets.
Hmm.
Last time, the Giants hosted the Cowboys and lost 40-0. Monday night, the Jets,
Typical.
Bills. We know how that went. I'm going to agree with Dante here. I'm going to go Buffalo. I do think this is a nice opportunity to bounce back from their previous 2 weeks. I think the Jets may be a little rusty with a new coach in there, trying to figure things out. We know everything that's going on with them right now. So I think this is a good opportunity for Buffalo to get back in the win column.
I don't know. And it's not just because I don't have an upset of the week. I can live with that one. I'll even take a loss if it means I don't have one.
Well, you could always just go back in the schedule and pick one.
I didn't pick any upsets.
I mean, just look over the games and say, there, that's my upset. But
No, I'm gonna do it. There's this effect of first game interim head coaches, and normally it's later in the year, but the majority of this, yeah, right. I feel like the majority of the time it's a spark instead of a roadblock, and that spark uh, normally tends to go out sooner than later. But I don't think it's as simple as the Bills run over their division. Normally it is. But this matchup, more than just that once, I promise you, has been weird. And Aaron Rodgers, excuse my language, is going to be pissed. And he's going to, and I think he's probably pretty mad about last week, too. They had a real opportunity to beat the Vikings, beat a 4-0 team, have a winning record, have something to stand on. And then he threw a pick to Stephon Gilmore, who was unsigned until like the preseason. Yeah, you know what? Why not? I'm going to pick the Jets. I have no reason ever to be nice to them, but in this instance, I'm going to. And I promise it's not just because I needed a lock of the week or an upset of the week, rather, but this is my upset of the week.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you for the graphic, or else I would have forgotten.
Yeah, there you go.
Hope you like that, Luke.
Yeah, that works. Good fancy logo. Which I will reiterate for those people who may not be sure. For these stats, for these percentages, I go off of ESPN Fantasy. Because it's the easiest, because most players are unsigned. I go off of our 4-person family league because most people I talk about are unsigned because I try not to be too easy with these. But last week I had overall a good week. I went 7-5, and I counted Nick Chubb, the waiver wire decision being a win because Jerome Ford did not have a good game, so he should get all of his touches back when he comes back. I will just run over that real quick. Week 5, I said start Jaden Daniels, good decision. I said sit Justin Fields. He was actually in the top half of the league. He had 16 points, so I will take the L. And I said pick up Baker Mayfield again, and that was the right decision. As always, he's been fantastic. Running back, I tripped over myself a little bit. I said start Jerome Ford because I figured that he would want to have a good game before the Chubb gets back. He didn't. He only had 8 points. And I said, I can't really even blame this on myself, but I will. I said sit Ramondre Stevenson, who was supposed to be getting benched, but he did not at all. And he broke out a long touchdown run, so I'll take the L. And as I already mentioned, I said pick up Nick Chubb, and because of how bad Jerome Ford was, I know Nick Chubb didn't score, so it's kind of ungovernable territory. I'm giving myself thumbs up for that. And I said start Terry McLaurin. He was good enough to be a flex at least. That's a W. I said sit Tyreek Hill. He did have 13 points. He didn't find the end zone or anything, and those all pretty much came while he was being shadowed by somebody other than somebody named Christian Gonzalez, who, may I reiterate, is the best in the world, to me at least. Top 5. I think that's pretty agreeable. And I said waiver wire pick up Jacoby Myers. I hope he did that. If not, do it again. Although he's not going to be my person this week. He had 13.2. He's just going to continue to be good without Devontae Adams. And I said start Travis Kelce finally. He had a good week, 16 points. I said sit Trey McBride. He was coming off of an injury against the 49ers. Didn't know the 49ers were going to win. Trey McBride had a good game. And I said pick up Tucker Kraft. I hope he did. He had 25 points. I'll get into week 6. Try not to take too long. It always takes a while to do this, but I hope people enjoy it because I enjoy doing it. I would start Geno Smith against the 49ers. The 49ers defense hasn't been perfect. We all picked the 49ers, but the Seahawks lost last week, and Geno Smith still had like 23 fantasy points. So he is the NFL's passing leader. Shockingly, I would not have predicted that, but he's been pretty safe in fantasy. I would sit Dak Prescott versus Detroit. We got into all the reasons why that pretty much when we picked that game. So I won't expand on that. And I would waiver wire pickup. Another thing I kind of got into the reasons for before, so I won't expand. Daniel Jones. He's only rostered in 20% of leagues, averages 15. That's in the top half. Running backs, I would start DeAndre Swift versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville lets up a lot of points to running backs, and DeAndre Swift has been good. I would sit Travis Etienne for pretty much the opposite reason. They won finally, but Tank Bigsby had the bigger game. And he isn't going to be my pick here, but I would pick him up if you need a bench spot for a running back. If not him, I would pick up Raheem Mostert. He's my pick this week. He's rostered in 62% of leagues. He only averages 8, but he had 12 points last week. Devon A-Chain just got hurt. He's going to be a bit of a workhorse for them. Wide receivers start Marvin Harrison. This is one I don't really have a lot of logic for, but I'm feeling a comeback week. He didn't do a lot against San Francisco, against Green Bay. Just a feeling. I think he finds the end zone. Sit George Pickens. I'm sorry, Dante, but we all saw what happened last week. The laziness on the routes, and Mike Tomlin put him in the doghouse before any of that even happened. He only was out there for 40% for 40% of the offensive snaps, and he had no impact when he played. I'm sorry, it's true. It's unfortunate, but waiver wire pickup. Wan'Dale Robinson of the Giants, rostered in 67% of leagues, averages 14 points, and that's not just because Malik Neighbors missed a game, because he only had like 14 points this week. So he's been consistent. He's one of the better wide receiver twos in the NFC. And finally, tight ends. I would start Sam Laporta, same thing as Marvin Harrison Jr. Completely just a feeling. And this is an even bigger risk. The Sam Laporta has not yet arrived this year, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it happens this week against Dallas. That is. Sit Evan Ingram. He's just coming back for Jacksonville. He did nothing in the one game he played in. Just don't even bother. You may have him because he was actually drafted highly enough to be one of the top 15 tight ends, but do not bother with Evan Ingram right now. And waiver wire pickup. I'm not all going to bash on the Steelers. Pick up Pat Freiermuth. I think he's been okay. He's been averaging like 10 points, and he's only rostered in like, what did I say, 70% of leagues. So I give him a thumbs up. He's safe. And that's what I got for you this week. Overall, I've been 25 and 23 on my decisions. So I won't glaze myself. I'll say, as I said last week, take my decisions, listen to them, and then decide for yourself. But these were my suggestions, and I have been right more than I have been wrong.
Cool.
Cool.
Cool. All
I
right.
do have a I do have my bold prediction for the week.
Fantastic.
Let's hear it.
In response to Luke, do you remember the last time George Pickens was criticized and in the doghouse? Do we?
Enlighten me.
Anybody remember?
Not sure.
Christmas
Enlighten me.
Christmas Eve against the Bengals.
Hmm.
George Pickens had 2 touchdowns and over 200 yards that game against a not so good defense. My bold prediction: George Pickens over 100 yards and a touchdown. Don't doubt GP1 issue because
I'm gonna doubt him a little.
that's
We'll
fine.
see. Yeah. I don't know. I will bite the bullet if I'm wrong.
I'm gonna meet in the middle. I'm gonna
Yeah.
understand Luke's doubt, but I'm gonna understand Dante's hope. Or what's the word I'm looking for?
Optimism.
Confidence and optimism. Yes.
Yeah, but that's my bold prediction. George Pickens is gonna have a good game.
Okay, I don't hate it. I would certainly like if that was the case.
But I could totally see him just going for like 3 for 34 and not doing anything.
Hey, we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
Anyway, I think that does it for us.
I
I
think
think that does it.
does it. We will see you next week. Hopefully, our teams play a little better this week. We'd like to see it. Dante, at least, because you guys have the best chance to win.
We shall see. I need it, man.
Yeah.
It's been a rough-
Recording this, or since we are recording this before the game, about a little over an hour before, go Phillies. Season's on the line today.
I think Philly got it. I was telling you before we started recording.
I know you did. I
Is it
hope
in
you're
Philly or is it at City Field or
at Citi Field game 4s, but if we can win today,
it's back
we've
in
got
Philly?
Zach Wheeler at home for game 5 on Friday. So
As long as Grimace isn't there, I think it's fine.
it's Citi Field. Grimace is going to be there.
Oh man, if the Mets win this series, Frank the Tank's going to be unbearable.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid for, but we'll cross the bridge when we come to it.
Let's go,
Thank you all for listening.
Right.
We love y'all. This is Adam,
Dante.
And Luke,
and we will catch you all in the next one. Peace
Drake
out.
Matt.
Have a good week.